Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Table of Meeting. It's been a while since we've met. So today I invite you to grab a favorite beverage, get comfortable, and just sit with me today. The scripture that we started with on the first half of this special 2-part episode of the very first Table of Meeting episode says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life." Friends, after I recorded that very first part, I succumbed to that very scripture myself. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. I truly don't even know how to describe what happened. And I'm not sure that I even could right now. But what I can tell you is that my hope had been deferred and my heart was sick. You know, I'm sure you can hear a difference in the way I speak between when I first came to you and now. Or maybe you can't. Maybe it's just me. But I'm speaking slower. I'm more calculated. I'm more focused and I'm more present than I've ever been. And it's because something happened from the first part until now. And if you're joining us for the first time today, you may not know. And if you're joining us for the second half of this first episode, quickly after listening to the first one, you're going to feel like no time has elapsed. But it truly has. I honestly don't remember the date that the first part dropped. I feel like it was in December of 2024 or January of 2025. Today is August 22nd, 2025. A lot of time has passed and a lot has happened. And I'm a different woman. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Friends, I had no hope. I was lost. Let me sum up what happened shortly for you. I came to the end of myself, and I really sat with myself. I took stock of everything in my life, and I realized that there were two versions of me. There was the version that I showed everybody else. The carefree, happy-go-lucky, positive attitude, loved the Lord, loved her family, loved her friends with all of her heart, and was just a gigantic, cheerful giver. And that is who I am at my core. But deep inside of me, there were things that were blocking that. Too many things to go into detail with. But it's suffice to say that I had forgotten who I really was. And I was basically playing a part instead of being authentically who I am. In these last 8 or 9 months, I've realized that it's okay to be who I am. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, just like everybody else. I get upset just like everybody else. But I was holding myself to a standard that no one could really line up to, especially me. I wanted to be the perfect wife. I wanted to be the perfect pet mom. I wanted to be the perfect Christian, perfect friend. And nobody's perfect. But I held myself to that standard, and I fell short. I fell way short. A galaxy short, if I'm being honest. And I just kept waiting for something to change. I kept thinking, if something's going to happen and everything will change. Well, friends, something did happen. I came to the end of myself. And I realized that I couldn't keep living the way I was living. My life exploded. There were many things that led up to this, starting many years ago, and continuing on right up till this past week. I'm not going to go into detail of those things right now. I will one day. But a chain of events began happening somewhere around the first part of July of this year. And they happened rather rapidly and rather suddenly. One thing after another. And I was in crisis. I couldn't think straight. All I could think about was how terrible my situation was. I had really, truly lost sight of who I was, and I had lost sight of who I wanted to be, my goals and my dreams in life. Because remember, hope deferred makes the heart sick. But a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. Friends, not only was my hope deferred, and it made my heart sick, but I wasn't having any dreams fulfilled. They were all dead. Had all these ideas of what my life would look like by the time I was 38, as I am now. My life doesn't look like what I dreamed it to look like. And I had taken what I did have for granted. I took my husband for granted. I took my family for granted. My beautiful friends for granted. My coworkers and everybody else around me. I was miserable. I was in physical and emotional pain all the time. I could never quite live in the present. I was either stuck in the past, dredging up the past, or I was stuck in a fallacy of the future, of what I wanted my future to look like. I definitely didn't have time to thank anybody for what they were doing. I was always in crisis mode. And I knew a move was coming. Both something within me, like a shift in my emotions, in my spirit, in my life, in my way of thinking, something intangible. something on the inside of me. But I also knew a physical move was coming. I've known this for quite a while. I knew that I would be living in another area entirely, another state. I wanted to go to Alaska. I wanted to run away. I wanted to get as far away from everybody and everything that I could. So I thought. But then I would have moments in the midst of wanting to run away, and I would think to myself, what about my family? They won't be able to come see me very often, if at all, in Alaska. What about my friends? And I was being very selfish in that. My husband didn't want to go to Alaska. He wanted to go to somewhere on the East Coast. But in that moment of all the hurt and all the pain that was coming to a head, of everything that had happened in my life, and especially what was happening in the present, I just wanted to go. And I wanted to be away from everyone and everything. And I didn't care. Looking back, I realized how incredibly selfish that was. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. But a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. So let's talk about these dreams. Most of my dreams were dead and in the ground. Friends, I'm not just talking about the big dream. I'm not just talking about having a beautiful family. I'm not just talking about materialistic things. I'm not even talking about the pursuit of a dream of a career. No. I'm talking about the smallest of dreams. Having joy. Having happiness. And yes, they are separate. Having either one, let alone both. Having security in my marriage. A marriage is two people that come together as one. And that can't be done if one or both people are focused on themselves. And I was focused entirely on myself. Leading up to the move, we knew my husband was going to be transferring with his job. We began looking in areas that we wanted to live. Everything seemed so far-fetched. Moving across town seemed far-fetched. We didn't have the finances. We didn't have a plan. We didn't even believe that we would ever get out of the situation we were in. Excuse me. However, I realized that this move was about so much more than transferring for a job, getting a change of scenery, or anything like that. So, I began praying, friends. I was desperate. I began asking for guidance. I began asking for help. Longer story short, the location was revealed. We began putting things in place to move. And then the unthinkable happened. Again, I'm not going to go into details because this is not about that. But I liken this to a woman giving birth. When a woman goes into labor, her contractions get stronger and stronger and more painful as the baby is ready to arrive. And the hardest part is right before the birth. I myself have not yet had the privilege to give birth, but I've been with several women who have. You know, there's typically that point where the woman just is at her wit's end and she's just begging for the baby to come, for the pain to stop. And then, of course, some women rethink, was this a good idea? You know, it's a little late for that. But I experienced something very similar. In the midst of getting ready to move, I panicked. And I lost all sense of dignity and decency. And not only was I treating people harshly around me, but I was panicking. Absolutely panicking. I was on the verge of losing everything. We had originally thought we would be moving in the end of September. And like I said, all this stuff started in the beginning of July. And then I had this feeling, no, we're moving in August. Maybe the first week of August. Second week at the latest. And, excuse me. Well, it happened. We were forced to leave. And we didn't have a way to get out. We didn't have the finances. We didn't have a reliable vehicle. We didn't have anywhere to go. We knew the destination, but we didn't know the plan. Well, we just followed the open doors. And the doors that were open were not the doors that we thought were going to open. And in a whirlwind set of events that I'm not going to detail, excuse me, right now, we left on the 17th of August. And in the longest 20 hours of my entire life, we sat on a bus. And we arrived on the 18th of August. Still with no plan, still with no place to go, and still with no finances. I pause as I reflect on these things, and I don't want to get distracted from what I'm talking about. I had little dreams, tiny dreams. I have big dreams too, and I've realized them again. Tiny dreams, a little bit of joy, a little bit of happiness, and I can tell you, getting on the bus that day without any of my pets. I don't remember if I spoke on the first half of the episode of the first part, but I had 6 pets, and we got permanent homes for 2 of them, and then with 4 left, up until just hours before we boarded the bus, we finally found homes for them because I knew I couldn't take them with me. And friends, when I tell you, One of the pets, one of the ones that has a permanent home, I had her for 17 years. The other 4 pets that I had them between, my husband and I have had them for between 8 and 11 and a half years. That was rough. But I knew I had to let them go. They couldn't come with me. But an amazing chain of events. At the very end, right before we got on that bus, 3 people came to get those 4 pets. And they all said before they left, "We will give you these pets back whenever you are ready to take them." They offered to be fosters. And I'm telling you, that was something I did not expect. And I'm still operating under the assumption. It's not really the right word. I'm still operating on we gave the pets up. Just because it's important for my healing to be able to keep my focus where it needs to be on. But please don't mistake what I said. In giving up the pets, in giving up all we gave up to, both forced and chose to, my husband and I gained freedom. And that little dream to have a little bit of joy, just a little bit, came to life instantaneously. When my husband and I got on the bus, a dream was fulfilled. Never in the way we thought. We didn't just get out of the situation we were in, but we saw what was important in life. And I have had more joy since getting on that bus as I sit in my safe space that I have now. I have never been happier in my entire life. My voice may not sound like it, but that's because I'm being reflective and I'm slowing down to calculate what I want to say, because I want to talk to you from my heart. I've said all of this today to say this. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. Friends, in what was the darkest hours of my entire life, I thought I was losing everything, but I wasn't. I was gaining so much. I have never had less to my name, in my possession, in my entire life. And I've always had very little, or so I thought. As I sit here today, I can honestly tell you that I have more than enough. And I am so, I am so grateful. And I am so thankful for everything that's happened. It's like I woke up on the 17th, scared, filled with dread, not knowing what was going to happen that day. Not even being able to see the next moment, having no clue what was going to happen. And in a chain of events that I can only tell you was purely God. I stepped on that bus, and the moment I did, everything changed. It did. I realized what my priorities were, and I started slowing down. I'm able to be contemplative and thankful, and being thankful for the little bit I have has made me realize that it's not as little as I thought it was. It's really everything, friends. I want you to know today that wherever you are, I want you to know that everything is going to be okay. Maybe you're still stuck in the hope deferred part, and you say, but Jennifer, I don't understand. How is it ever going to get better? Friend, I was right there. I really felt like my life had been wasted, and then it was over, and I was too young to die, too old to start over, too old to know better, but I'm going to tell you that every single breath that you have in your lungs is a gift. And with every breath you take, I want you to visualize this. Every breath you take is a chance to start over. You might say, I don't understand. How can I start over? I can't take those words back that I said to him. I can't take back what I've done to her. It's too much. It's too hard. I can't do this. Well, I can tell you that forgiveness is a really big thing. And it's something I've been working on. Whether you believe in God, or you don't, or you're not sure, or you used to, but you're kind of just mulling through life, forgiveness is still important. You see, forgiveness is not about letting somebody else off the hook. It's about letting yourself off the hook. In the past few months, I've really been working on forgiving people. And let me tell you something interesting that happened. There's a particular person who I have held in my heart. And I've held a lot of things against this person. And I made the decision that I was going to begin working on forgiving them, because sometimes you can say, oh, I forgive you, and you mean it, and it's gone. And other times you can say, I forgive you, and nothing changes, because it's a daily thing sometimes. Sometimes there's layers. I decided to send this person a text message. And I began telling them why I was forgiving them. And I couldn't send the text message. Every time I tried, I couldn't do it. And I put my phone down. I took a deep breath. and I was like, what is it that I'm missing? And then it came to me. I picked up the phone one more time, and instead of telling them that I was forgiving them, I asked for forgiveness. I owned it, I took responsibility, and I told them everything that I was sorry for, and I asked them for forgiveness. Now, you might say, why would you do that? It's a lesson that I'm learning. Sometimes when you forgive someone, you're not able to actually speak to them. For example, I have people in my life who have passed away, and I can't forgive them to their face or over the phone or over a text message. So I've had to do it in my heart. Then there are times where you have to forgive someone in your heart and then work towards rebuilding a relationship. And if the opportunity arises, you're able to tell them that you've forgiven them. But forgiveness is also about being very humble and realizing that even though they hurt you, or even though they didn't do, say, or be what you thought they were going to be, it's important that we humble ourselves and realize that we've probably really hurt them too because we were upset by them. And I say those things to say this. I've been working on forgiveness. And as I have been forgiving people little by little, some of those people I've actually been able to speak to, and they've asked for forgiveness for things that they had done to me. And I didn't know that I needed to hear that. Other people, again, I haven't been able to speak to or tell them. But the more I do that, the more freedom I feel. And the more hope that comes back. And remember, if hope deferred makes a heart sick, let's rewind that. Hope revealed makes the heart healed. I'm going to say that one more time. Hope revealed makes the heart healed. Now, in closing today, I'm going to say this. A dream fulfilled is a tree of life. Friends, a dream doesn't have to be the car, the house, the job, the kids, the family, the friends, the XYZ, the stuff. Maybe today your dream is that you actually smile and it's not forced. Maybe today your dream is you can get up out of bed and not feel as depressed as you once were. Maybe that dream today is the person who you've been praying for gets out of prison. Maybe your dream today is that justice will come to something that's been full of injustice in your life. I don't know what your dream is. But I can promise you that hope always comes in the most unexpected places. I encourage you today to slow down. Take extra time to do some things that you're doing today and see what happens. I've learned that in the last little bit, when I actually take my time and slow down, I can think better. I can make more reasonable decisions. I can do whatever it is I need to do and just really take my time with it, because, friends, we're not promised tomorrow. If you knew that you were not promised tomorrow, what would really be on your list of priorities today? Mine may be different than yours, but mine would be, I would tell everybody how much I love them. I would ask them for forgiveness for anything I had done. I would tell them to slow down and enjoy life. And I would spend the remaining time with my husband. Whatever your answer is, if you're being honest with yourself, it'll reveal a lot, I promise. The final thought I'm going to leave you with today is I'm going to ask you, I keep pausing because I'm not sure what I would ask you. Let me say it this way. Today I challenge you to find that hope. It's going to require you slowing down, taking a moment to think, stepping away from the pressures of life. Find that hope. Because hope deferred makes the heart sick. But a dream fulfilled is a tree of life, excuse me. Find that little bit of hope today. Whatever it is. Could be in a child's laugh. It could be in snuggles from a favorite pet. Whatever that little bit of hope is, focus on that hope. Be thankful for it. The more that you can find things to be thankful for, when you take time and you slow down, the more hope you're going to find. The less your heart will be sick. And the more and more you're going to see dreams fulfilled, which will bring a tree of life. Friends, I want to thank you for joining me today. I am so excited to be back with you. And I'm not sure when the next episode is going to come out. I will have to keep you posted on that. I hope today that this podcast has brought you hope, knowing that you're not alone and somebody else has been there. And it's going to get better, friends. I don't know how, but I do want to encourage you to remember that maybe the dire circumstances that you find yourself in right now, maybe it's not the worst thing to happen. What if the circumstances you're in right now is going to produce the life that you've always wanted? Thank you for joining me today on the Table of Meeting podcast. I'd like to remind you that our email is always open for questions, prayer requests, comments, or any other inquiries you may have. Excuse me. We are real here at the Table of Meeting podcast. That email is tableofmeetingpodcast@gmail.com.